Senator Riverina.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And this Universities Accord Student Support and Other Measures Bill 2024 strikes at the very heart of how difficult it is for students, particularly regional students, to make ends meet at the moment. Higher Education Loan Program, HELP, indexation has reached record levels under this government as a result of soaring inflation. And you could ask any student in Australia, are they any better off now than what they were 2.5 years ago? And you will get an emphatic no. Under Labor, student debts have increased by 16% just over the past 24 months. 16%. The impact of such high indexation is that the average loan, which is $26,494, has risen by more than $4,000. Now, the best loan that anyone in Australia can get is the HECS loan, the student loan, because university graduates, on average, earn more than those Australians who do not go to university. And that's just the figures, that's just how it is. And, you know, we need Sparkies and Chippies and Brickies and all those labourers who do such wonderful things in our nation. But, you know, you get those student graduates, whether it's Charles Sturt University, whether it's UNE, University of New England, in the member for New England's electorate, or any other regional university, any one of the 8 sandstone universities in Australia, those graduates are going to earn, on average, more than those people who do not go to university and do not get that certificate, that diploma, with the university imprimatur on the bottom of it. But interestingly, in contrast to what's happening under Labor, under the Coalition, indexation averaged 1.7% per annum. So we see that student debts increased by 16% in the past 2 years. Under the Liberals and Nationals, indexation averaged 1.7% per year. And this is having a big effect on students' ability then to repay that debt. And whilst that debt, whilst that loan will provide them, on average, with a better life and more income going forward, they still have to pay it back. And I appreciate there's also a threshold that they have to reach before they have to pay back that debt. But nevertheless, the student debt is going up and up and up. And how is this fair when Labor, and I can remember, I know the member for New England, I know the member for Flynn, we all remember Labor members and certainly the then opposition leader, the now Prime Minister, running around saying that they will be better for young people. They will provide more hope for those students, for those university students. I'm the proud father of 3 graduates of Charles Sturt University, one who did her teaching degree, one accountancy, my eldest son, right, and my other young fellow who did policing at Charles Sturt University. And I'm very proud to say that Charles Sturt University has made its major campus in Wagga Wagga. I know it's headquartered in Bathurst now, but certainly the origins of CSU were at Wagga Wagga, and the late Wal Fife, the then well, he was member for Farran, member for Hume, but he had a lot to say and play in the establishment of RMIHE becoming Charles Sturt University in 1989, as well as Dr Cliff Blake. And they built Charles Sturt University north of the river, were criticised for being so far out of town at the time. I well remember people said, why would you want to build a campus of a university out there? But it is a magnificent setting and they provide magnificent outcomes for young people, and some not so young. Charles Sturt University has put in a submission in relation to this bill. They've emphasised the uniquely high financial barriers faced by regional students. I had a meeting just last week with Professor Renee Leon, PSM, she's the CSU Vice-Chancellor, about all matters university and with Charles University. And she's concerned about the cap on international students and how that will affect the bottom line of CSU. I understand that. I was pleased to be able to broker a meeting between her and the Education Minister, the member for Blaxland, today, whilst we're in the Federation Chamber discussing another universities accord bill, which was before the House and which we voted on a little earlier. But Professor Leon has quite correctly in her submission in relation to this bill indicated that it's not just the cost of their degrees but also the cost of getting to, staying at and succeeding at university. And that is an impost. And members who will stand up and speak on this bill may not understand the uniquely regional effects and the uniquely regional disadvantages that some students face wanting to get their diploma at a regional university. The great thing about regional universities is that those who do a regional degree, a degree at a regional university, 75% of them stay in a region. Quite often it's that region where the university is providing the course, but 75% of them will stay regional, and that's why I was so proud that I was able, through UNSW, to put in place the rural medical schools, the Murray-Darling network, which I know is already a success. I know just in Wagga Wagga there's more than 30 students studying at what will soon be a big new shiny building right in the medical precinct, right there next to the Wagga Wagga Base Hospital, in that medical precinct. And those graduates from UNSW will ultimately, 75% of them and probably higher, the rate the UNSW says it's about 90% for that particular course, will stay and become the general practitioners and the specialists of the future in rural communities. And so that is what it is all about. But CSU supports, without caveat, the creation of fee-free uni-ready courses. That's part of this submission. Professor Renee Leon states preparatory programs have proven to be an effective way of boosting higher education access and attainment of students from disadvantaged First Nations and regional backgrounds. Charles Sturt University has a proven track record in providing such programs. Indeed, it does. As a proud advocate for regional education, I'm very supportive of initiatives which help open new pathways and careers to people living in regional Australia. And I know, and I re-emphasise just how difficult it is in this cost of living crisis for students, particularly students who might come from remote areas to study in other areas of regional Australia, other areas which are not that, which are less remote, but also for those city students who want a country lifestyle along with their university education. And why wouldn't you, if you were sitting in traffic every day, why wouldn't you want to go out to say Armidale or Wagga Wagga or Orange, Danglemar. I'm quite sure there's a university at Danglemar, member for New England, one close by. But indeed, why wouldn't you want to go out and study at and have all the wonderful benefits of regional living, and your degree is still every bit worth as much as any degree you're going to get from a sandstone university. So I'll always be an advocate for regional universities, as I know my Nationals and regional Liberal colleagues will be. We will always push the point that you're going to get every bit as good an education at a regional university with every bit of opportunity that comes with it. CSU believes that changes to student services and amenities fees are not fit for regional universities and students. That's the submission that they put in. This bill requires 40% of student services and amenities fees to be provided to student-led organisations. Now, such organisations could be anything from sporting organisations, cultural, political clubs, or other university organisations. And look, perhaps a good idea in theory, but regional students and students studying online must also pay these fees, but may not be able to access the benefits of those fees. I know I've had a bit to say on this in the past, and certainly it's something that obviously CSU is passionate about enough to put in their submission, and we respect that. CSU's submission states that Charles Sturt University cannot support the measures relating to the use of student services and amenities fees without significant amendments. The intent of the Schedule 2 of the bill seems to be to impose a single model for SSAF across all universities, regardless of their differing characters and demographics. And therein is the nub of the problem. Therein lies the heart of the problem, and that is that CSU and UNE and CQU and other regional universities often get compared to and are expected to do the same and have the same provisions as the Sandstone universities, but the landscape is vastly different. And as the CSU submission went on to say, the model may well be suited to universities with a single major campus and a large on-site daily student presence, but may not be workable for regional and/or multi-campus institutions or those with a high proportion of part-time or online students. Geography and our student demographics make it difficult for Charles Sturt University to foster the kind of on-campus student life envisaged by the government's goals for SSAF, however desirable it may be. And I just wonder, and I do earnestly wonder, at the level of engagement that the government has had with universities, and particularly with regional universities. Now, I know they'll come into the chamber and spruik about their stakeholder engagement, and I appreciate that the Minister, Minister Clare, told me that he'd had a discussion with Professor Leon just a couple of weeks ago, and that's to be admired, encouraged. I mean, that's basically what a minister should be doing, and that is negotiating and talking with our universities, with his stakeholders or her stakeholders, if that were the case. But as CSU states here, 2/3 of our 35,000 full-time equivalent students are online. More than half are part-time and therefore pay a proportionately smaller SSAF. Those studying on campuses spread across 6 main campuses in regional New South Wales, in numbers varying from less than 70 in Dubbo to more than 2,000 in Wagga Wagga. 2 of our campuses, Albury and Port Macquarie, are almost 1,000 kilometres apart. The university's campuses are nonetheless host to around 60 sporting, cultural, recreational and discipline-focused clubs, similar to those at other universities, though with much smaller memberships than is the case at metropolitan universities. The activities of these clubs are in part supported by SSAF. So that needs to be considered. But when we look at this bill and when we look at the provisions around this bill, we need to remember, we need to always acknowledge how tough students are doing it because of the cost of living crisis, because of the sort of things that have occurred in the past 2 years to force prices of everything up. And accommodation is also something that is of great difficulty for our regional students. Now, I know Charles Sturt University at Wagga Wagga has on-site accommodation and certainly help students to try to gain accommodation. And I know that when I went around the country with Labor Senator Deb O'Neill from New South Wales, looking into post-pandemic how universities, tertiary education, but particularly with a focus on international education, but how universities were coping with everything going on post-pandemic. And many of the universities told us that accommodation was a crisis point, and yet our migration numbers are such that this is, again, placing an impost on our universities, on society in general. And so I say this to the government in all frankness and in all honesty. Try to do everything you can to bring down the costs for our students, particularly for our regional students, and please, please, please make sure that stakeholder engagement is front and centre with the likes of UNE and CSU and CQU and other regional universities, because what you're doing is hurting them and hurting the students who are indeed Australia's future.